Have you ever walked out of your boss's office feeling like you just lost a game you didn't even know you were playing? You feel confused, maybe a little guilty, or even crazy. They were so calm, so reasonable, but you can't shake the feeling that you were just expertly played. You start to think, am I overreacting? Am I the one who's not getting it? Stop right there. You're not imagining it. That feeling isn't a sign of your weakness. It's a sign of their technique. They're using the tools of emotional intelligence, not to lead, but to manipulate. They are masters of staying calm while making you feel like you're losing your mind. Today, we're exposing the playbook. We're going to dissect 5 of the most common tactics that feel like good leadership, but are actually weapons of control. By the end of this, you won't just see the game, you'll know exactly how to win it. Toxic leadership isn't always about shouting or overt aggression. The most dangerous form is quiet, psychological, and disguised as good management. It's about creating an imbalance of power so subtle you blame yourself for it. Let's expose the 5 most common and most damaging tactics. Tactic 1. The weaponized pause. Great leaders pause. They listen, they think, they respond. It's a sign of maturity. But a manipulator knows that silence isn't just golden, it's a weapon. The problem: you've just made your case. You've presented an idea or a reasonable request, and then nothing. Your boss just looks at you. The silence stretches. 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Then a knot tightens in your stomach. Now you're thinking, did I say something wrong? Or was that a dumb idea? This isn't a thoughtful pause. It's a pressure vacuum. They know that human nature hates a void, and you will rush to fill it. You'll start talking again, backtracking, offering concessions you don't need to make, exposing your insecurities, anything to break the tension. They haven't said a word, and they've already won. The counter: you have to outweight the silence. Don't let it break you. First, hold your ground. When the silence starts, your job is to do nothing. Don't fidget. Don't look away. Take a slow, quiet breath. Your stillness sends a powerful message. I am confident in what I just said. I have all the time in the world for you to think about it. You've just neutralized their primary weapon. Second, if it goes on for an uncomfortably long time, narrate the tactic. Subtly reclaim control by saying something calm and neutral. I can see you're giving that some thought. Or even, I'll give you a moment to process. This acknowledges the pause on your terms and gently prompts them to actually engage. And finally, document the pattern. One weird pause is an anomaly. A consistent pattern of using silence to make you squirm is a tactic. Write it down: date, topic, outcome. This isn't just a one-off event, it's data. Tactic 2. The reframing gaslight. Cognitive reframing is a healthy tool. A great leader can frame a failure as a learning opportunity. It builds resilience. But in the wrong hands, it becomes a way to rewrite reality at your expense. The problem: I call it the reframing gaslight. You point out an objective fact, like a deadline being impossible because you were given the project 3 days late. A healthy boss would own it. But a manipulative boss will reframe it as a flaw in you. They'll say, I see this as a great opportunity for you to learn how to perform under pressure. Or, the best people thrive in ambiguity. Are you saying you're not one of them? Notice what just happened. The conversation is no longer about the schedule. It's about your competence, your character, your worth. They took their failure and reframed it as your test. Do this enough and you start to believe them. You start to think, maybe I am just not cut out for this. This self-doubt is the manipulator's goal. The counter: your only defense against gaslighting is to anchor yourself in reality so hard they can't move you. First, anchor to the facts. Refuse to be pulled into a debate about your character. Bring it back to the cold, hard data. Calmly say, I appreciate the development opportunity. To be practical, this project requires 10 days of work, and we now have 6. That's the logistical problem I need to solve. Remember, facts are your lighthouse in their manufactured fog. Second, use I statements. Frame your point from your perspective. Instead of you changed the deadline, try my understanding was that the deadline was next week, so I'm confused about the new timeline. It's non-accusatory and forces them to clarify rather than attack. Third, and this is non-negotiable, document everything. After a verbal conversation, send a recap email. Just to confirm our chat, my understanding is we're moving forward with the new Wednesday deadline and deprioritizing X and Y. Please let me know if I've misunderstood. This creates an undeniable paper trail. It is your single greatest weapon against someone trying to rewrite history. Is any of this sounding a little too familiar? If these tactics are hitting close to home, take a second to subscribe and hit the notification bell. My mission here is to give you the tools to protect your career and your peace of mind, and I want to hear from you. Have you ever been on the receiving end of the weaponized pause or the reframing gaslight? Drop your story in the comments. You'll be shocked how many people have been right where you are. Tactic 3. The Zen-like invalidation. Mindfulness is a leadership superpower. A calm leader can handle a crisis without panicking, but a manipulator can hijack the language of mindfulness to make you feel like your valid concerns are a spiritual failure. The problem: you bring a serious, urgent problem to your boss. A key supplier just backed out. The project is on fire. You're rightfully stressed. Instead of addressing the problem, your boss leans back with an air of detached wisdom and says, "It sounds like you're getting very attached to a specific outcome." Or, "Have you tried just observing your anxiety without judgment?" See the trick? They're using wellness jargon to dismiss you. Your professional concern is being reframed as an emotional flaw. They get to look enlightened and wise while you're made to feel like a hysterical mess. They've completely dodged responsibility for the actual problem. The counter: you have to drag the conversation out of the pseudo-spiritual clouds and back down to earth. First, bring it back to business. Acknowledge their comment briefly and then pivot. I appreciate that perspective. Focusing on the business impact, this supplier issue puts the launch at risk by 20%. I need your guidance on how we should address that risk. You're making it clear you're here to solve a business problem, not for a therapy session. Second, demand concrete action. Don't let them off the hook with vague platitudes. Ask direct questions. What specific steps should we take today to fix this? Or, who else needs to be involved to solve this now? This forces them to drop the guru act and be a manager. Tactic 4, the surgical emotional vocabulary. Emotionally intelligent people have a rich vocabulary to describe feelings. It helps with self-awareness. But a manipulator uses this skill to dissect your emotions, always in a way that benefits them. The problem: they will label your feelings for you, and the label is always a weapon. You're in a meeting, passionately arguing for a project you believe in. You've got the data, the logic, the energy. They cut you off. "Okay, I can see you're getting very emotional about this. Let's stick to the facts. They just took your greatest strength, your passion, and relabeled it as a weakness." Or you're carefully pointing out risks in a plan. They look at you with fake concern. "It seems like you're feeling very anxious. Maybe this is too much for you." They aren't trying to understand you. They are trying to define you. They put you in a box labeled irrational or unstable, so they can dismiss everything you say. The counter: you are the only authority on what you are feeling. Never let them define your inner world. First, correct and redefine, calmly and firmly. Correct their label. "I wouldn't call it emotional, I'd call it passionate about getting the best result." Or, "This isn't anxiety, this is due diligence, it's my job to be prepared." Second, pivot back to the substance. After you correct them, immediately return to your point. Don't get stuck in a debate about feelings. That's their trap. But labels aside, the data on page 5 shows we have a major opportunity here. This shows them you won't be played and your focus is on the work. Tactic 5, the productive pressure cooker. This is the most insidious trick of all. The boss stays perfectly calm because they're the one who started the fire. The problem: they create chaos on purpose. They'll set an impossible deadline, change the project scope at the last second, or pit team members against each other. Then they sit back with a serene, detached calm and watch everyone else scramble. Your completely normal stress response to the crisis they created is then used as proof that you can't handle the pressure. Their calm makes your stress look like a personal failing. You're left feeling incompetent and unstable, dependent on their strength. It's a brutal tactic designed to make them look like a stoic leader while proving you aren't one. The counter: refuse to internalize their manufactured chaos. Make the arsonist own the fire. First, narrate reality. Don't complain, don't panic, just state the facts of the situation without emotion. So we're all clear. The scope of the project has now doubled, but the deadline is still Friday. That creates a significant challenge. This exposes how unreasonable the situation is without making you sound hysterical. Second, force them to own the triage. This is the power move. Shift the problem back to them. Say, "Given these new constraints, I need your strategic guidance. To hit the deadline, what should we cut, and what should be our absolute priority?" This forces them into a corner. They either have to admit their demands are impossible, or they have to make a rational decision, a decision you can then document and act on. And finally, protect yourself. This environment is designed to burn you out. Work diligently, but set ironclad boundaries. Take your breaks and go home on time. Remember, their manufactured urgency is not your personal emergency. You deserve to work in a place where you feel psychologically safe and not psychologically played. So let's label these tactics for what they are. The weaponized pause to create anxiety. The reframing gaslight to make you question reality. The Zen-like invalidation to dismiss your concerns. The surgical emotional vocabulary to label you as weak. And the productive pressure cooker to manufacture chaos. Taking back control doesn't start with a big confrontation. It starts with a quiet internal shift. It's the moment your boss tries a manipulation tactic and you think to yourself, "Ah, I see you and I know this game." It starts when you anchor yourself in facts, document everything, and choose a strategic response over an emotional reaction. Remember, psychological manipulation dies when it's exposed to the light. The moment you see these tactics for what they are, a calculated game, they lose their power against you. Congratulations, you've just taken another step toward mastering psychological self-defense. Here on Psych-Jitsu, we dive deep into neuroscience-based tactics, psychological strategies, and martial arts mindset training to help you protect your mind and navigate any situation with confidence. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Psych-Jitsu isn't just theory, it's your first line of defense.